Are we all excited as to what might be on offer? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, everyone. Just so, hopefully you can all hear me all right. I know, it's all good. Okay, so, I'll stand back. Okay, so obviously what we are beginning with is the situation of Cold Church. Okay, and so obviously that was our main focus as we're thinking of where this project all developed from is Cold Church to start with. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to get this to work. Oh, okay. So to start with, to give a little bit of a background to the situation, to start with, we repaired our roof. Yay! Everyone's happy. So we did that in 2023. We're all very happy about that. That was a wonderful thing to do. The next issue that we had, though, after the roof had been repaired, is that we discovered that the lovely gas heaters that we had in here were releasing rather a lot of carbon monoxide. This wasn't an issue while the roof was in an awful state because it would just disappear through all the holes in the roof. What we discovered very soon after the roof repaired is that when we were using the heaters in church, our carbon monoxide alarms were going off regularly, which obviously was very unsafe. And so the PCC made the decision that actually we need to actually remove those heaters. They clearly were not safe. We knew that really when they were put in quite some time ago. They were actually put in this church when they'd already been enforced to be removed from other churches because they weren't considered safe. We, going forward, very much, we didn't want to have those heaters in place. Also, we are aware that nowadays, with all the eco issues going on, the use of gas as a fuel is not a good idea. So, what we did is we went ahead and we removed the heaters. The gas heaters were removed in April 2024, and over the summer we also had the complete gas the supply to the church cut off, okay? Because while we had no gas heaters in the church, we were still actually paying £7 a day in service charge to have the meter here where we weren't using any gas. And this went on for some time. It couldn't be justified, and we were, 99% sure that any future solution that we wanted for heating in the church was not going to be gas-based. So we removed the meter supply as well to save money. So that was where we got to. We then started investigating electric heating solutions for the church. This is where we hit an interesting situation of what the current electrical supply to the site is. So there's actually two electrical supplies to the site. One is to the church building, which is a single-phase electrical supply, and then we have a three-phase supply to the hall. We did or Ben and Gareth did a lot of work actually, thinking about usage levels and power outputs and all that, and we sort of were right on the cusp of actually we could just about manage all of our needs on the site if we could combine those two power supplies and sometimes be using heating in here, but when we had heating in here we couldn't be doing things in the hall, and we had a complicated thing that we were working through. But then we hit a problem in that actually you are not allowed to share across two buildings like that. So we could not take part of the three-phase supply to the church centre, use it partially in the church centre, but also having it supplying in some ways this building. That wasn't an option. So we're now looking at a very limited issue in terms of the energy coming into the site. Stop me if at any point I'm not making sense. I'm trying to sort of give this a reasonable background so you can see where we got from. So the next thing we did is we said, okay, maybe we can get a new three-phase supply to come to the church. We need to upgrade the supply to the church. If it's single phase, we need it better, we will upgrade. So we got a quote in for that, £52,000. Now, the reason for that is that they would actually have to dig up the London Road to do it. And with all the tunnelling, the closure of the road, everything, it was going to be hugely expensive. And that was literally just to get the supply to the box down at the entrance at the Lich Gate. That was literally just to bring the supply that far. We would then have to do all the work to actually tunnel on site to actually get it to the building, etc. It became very clear very quickly that it would be hugely expensive to actually go basically to the grid and get a three-phase supply to the church. So it became very clear very quickly we need to look at other solutions. Okay, so at this point, the diocese actually advised us about there's a potential help with funds around these sorts of things if we were an eco-church, because there were various fund pots that could be available if we were actually looking for a very eco-type response. Now, we felt, as a PCC, felt as a church, that is what we want to be. We want to be a church that cares about the environment. Going forward, we do want to, be thinking about any solution that we do for this being particularly eco-friendly. So, as a PCC and as a church, we sort of started focusing on the eco side of things. To start with, we did need to be registered as an eco-church. So we were registered, we put together a church eco-group, we were registered as an eco-church, we achieved the Bronze Award immediately for everything we were already doing in church. We then started working on some other things and improvements, and quite quickly we managed to achieve the Silver Award status as an eco-church. And hopefully you've seen some of the improvements over the last 18 months of things that we are doing. We've moved into a lot of fair trade products. We're registered as a fair trade church for all our tea and our coffee and our sugar. We're doing a lot more work about recycling on site, about using biodegradable things when possible, all sorts of different things. We're trying to avoid single-use plastics. So you will find, we serve teas and coffees after the service in mugs rather than using, cardboard cups or any single-use plastics or like that. It's really important to recognise the impact of something like that, which is like all of those cups have to be washed up after the service. And for example, today, as we've been putting this meeting together, Nigel's been going, well, do I have the time to go over there and start washing up? And he's actually just committed to doing the washing up after the memorial service tonight. So it's just, you have to realise what the impact of these things is, and it does create jobs for people. Margaret is fantastic as well with the refreshments, coming along on a Sunday morning, having to bring everything over from the church hall over to here. So, and all these things have to happen. It all has to be cleared back to there and cleared up. So it's just something to put out there. If anybody has any extra time before and after services and they wouldn't mind sort of helping with some of those things and going over to the hall and helping with washing up and things, that would be very much appreciated. Just something to put out there. I'm talking too much, so I have to see if that reconnects. Okay. Just give it a second. I've got to recorrect it. Okay, so we achieved, as I say, where are we up to? Oh, further than that. Okay, we then looked at some learning that we'd had from the roof project. Okay, so as you're aware, the issue of the roof here existed for a very long time. Over many years, there was lots of things that were looked at to try to get to the point of actually getting this repaired, and it was seen as part of a much bigger project for a while. And then the most recent thing is that we decided, actually, let's focus on the most important thing of actually getting the roof done. But one of the key things that we learned from that is that funders are much more interested in your project and much more likely to help you if you have a full specification for the project that you want. If you have all the details and you have decided fully what you are going to do and what it is going to cost, then actually as soon as you take that to funders, you are in a much better position. So the next thing we were looking at is going, okay, what is it we're going to want to do here? We want to get to the point of having a fully spec'd out project. That's our first aim, get to the point of a fully spec'd out project. So what we did, or Ben did, I think it's very important that Ben has been hugely, hugely fundamental in this, doing so much work behind the scenes. We approached the architect that we used for the roof project, and we basically asked him to come up with a quote for coming and speccing out a project, coming and maybe doing a couple of workshops with us, etc., as to what the solution might be, and then taking it all the way through to actually then defining the whole project. At the time, we were considering other things alongside. We were looking at it more as a whole sort of church-wide projects and some other things that maybe were a little bit aspirational, but things we were thinking of doing, like maybe doing a bit of renovation at the back of church, raising the sound desk up to a higher level, upgrading the kitchen and the tea station, bringing a water supply, etc., so we could have a proper tea station back there. We were looking at potentially putting a mezzanine floor into the vestry area, so we could improve the office space and the provision for the youth as well. So we were looking at various of these things, and we actually got a quote through from our architect to actually run a project with us to help us think through all the options and actually get to the stage of a fully spec'd out project. That was about £18,000 he was talking about at that point, wasn't he? So the next thing was that the diocese advised us of a very specific, particular fund that was potentially available, which is to become a demonstrator church for the Church of England programme aimed at showcasing net zero carbon solutions. The diocese were very much in favour of us applying for this. We had proved ourselves with the roof project of the way that we can carry a project successfully through. We were clearly taking on a lot of the eco-type values, and this was a significant fund that could become available to actually become a demonstrator church. Dominic, I think I'm going to keep with you to advance forward, so let's go for the next one. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Oh, okay, lost count of numbers. Hold on. Are we on that one? Okay. Okay, there we are. Okay, so an application was made by Ben. Again, Ben did a huge amount of work in early part of 2025, okay, to become a demonstrator church. There were 114 churches selected across the country to be demonstrator churches. This is countrywide, Church of England, and in this summer we were informed that we had been selected as a demonstrator church, which is fantastic. Okay, you think, yay, but what does that mean? Okay, what does that mean for us? So, a few things it means for us. But at this stage, at this first stage of the project, we have been allocated up to £18,000 for stage one of an eco project. Now, what we mean by stage one of an eco project is taking it to fully spec'd out. Okay, which means what we're looking at, as I said a bit earlier, is that we're looking at what are the solutions for the site. You know, what sort of things are we wanting to do? We need help defining how that might work and the different options that could be available. And actually, basically, we have been provided with up to £18,000 to actually help us to get there. But more than that, we've also been allocated support from fundraising specialists, and we have been allocated support from technical specialists to get us to that point. So it's not just about getting the money. Actually, as being a demonstrator church, we also get other support that is offered to us to help us in this process. Ben and I have already met with the fundraising specialist. She was really, really helpful about different things that we need to pull together to be able to be in a really good position for the ongoing project. The other thing to say is that as a demonstrator church, the aim is that all demonstrator churches will be allocated additional funding for stage two of the project. Stage two is taking it to actually full project gets done, that we actually get people on site and we're doing it, and so stage two ends when we've actually got the whole solution in place. And so as a demonstrator church, in principle, we will also get additional funding for stage two, and that could be up to 40% of the costs of the stage two part. Okay, that though is very, very much dependent upon successful completion of stage one and successful engagement with the whole process of being a demonstrator church. Okay, so it is really, really exciting. It's a fantastic opportunity, but we need to be very aware of what this actually means for us. So what else does it mean? We will be, as a demonstrator church, we will be there as a demonstrator and as a place of information and advice for other churches as they are seeking to do eco projects. So they can come to us for advice and inspiration. We can share the details of the process that we go through, and then potentially go and present to other churches as well. And it's mainly about, we don't have to help them do projects, that's not what it's about, but we share our learning. That's the idea, that we share the experience we have and the learning. As I said, we will have, so as I said, we go out and talk to other churches about it as well. And this must be part of what we commit to as a demonstrator church, that we must be prepared to do those things. As I said, we are being allocated fundraising support, specialist fundraising support and specialist technical support. Both of those are offering that at various stages they would be coming and doing workshops for us about various elements of the project to help us to understand what we're doing better. What we do is we open up those workshops to other churches as well. They can come and find out more. Very specifically though, the workshop will be focused on our project. Other churches aren't coming in and then it all gets about theirs. The workshops will be focused on our project, but they become learning opportunities for the other churches to come along to as well. Okay, so this is what will happen. Next one coming. So we have to keep really good records of the process because this is about sharing with other people. Okay, so we need to be sharing what we're doing. So we're talking about doing blogs on it, doing video diaries, having a website on it, lots of things. We've got to make sure that we sort of clearly document and share everything that we are going through. So that it becomes something that other people can learn from and be inspired by. It is a big commitment, but it is also a great blessing. I mean, obviously I've spoken already about the sort of the funding that comes with this, but you add on the sort of specialist expertise that comes with it and support from the central net zero team of Church of England team. And also there's not, I haven't actually checked how many demonstrator the churches there are in this diocese. As I said, there's 114 across the whole country. I know is it just the two? Just two. The diocese are really keen to be alongside us with this. We're working with the net zero officer at the diocese, with the comms team at the diocese, because they want to take full advantage of this as well, that we can then become a resource to other churches across the diocese who can be inspired about what we're doing. Okay, so there's a lot going on. Where do we come to next? Maybe. Okay, so we have a project, okay? This is our new logo. Is that all right, people? I haven't shown this to you. I designed this yesterday. Is that all right? Do we like it? It's got the sense of heating, potentially roofy, churchy things, eco. This is our new logo. Okay, right, okay. So we have the project. It is the Demonstrator project, okay? This is what we are going to be working on. As a PCC, one of the things we have done is we have established a Demonstrator Project Committee. That does not mean that all the work is being done by the Demonstrator Project Committee. It's just that we recognise that there is a lot of conversation and work that needs to be done behind the scenes. It can't all be discussed at PCC meetings. It'll regularly report into PCC meetings. PCC is always the group that makes decisions. But we recognise that there's going to be a lot of ongoing work with this. So we have a Demonstrator Project Committee, which includes both PCC and non-PCC people. If there is anybody who says, actually, I would love to come and join and be part of that, come and tell me. Okay, because we do want as much support as possible with this. So if you'd like to come and be part of that, come and tell me, that would be great. The first thing that the Demonstrator Project Committee looked at was we looked at the history of everything that's happened. We were looking at the full detail of what it meant to be a demonstrator church. And we also, as I said earlier on, as we were thinking about this project, we were thinking of other elements of, mezzanine floors and kitchens and things. But actually we said, right, we need to decide what is the focus of this project. We need to have a much more clearly defined scope so we know where we're starting from and what we're going with. So this is what we came up with. We are focusing on a heating, energy and insulation solution for the site. It is not just for the church, because actually we need to do stuff in the church hall as well. The current heating in the church hall is very expensive, and actually if we've got this opportunity, we need to do something about that as well. The insulation in the church hall really could, be improved quite a lot. So we are looking at a heating solution, both buildings, we are looking at an energy solution to the site, because the energy we have coming into the site through the electricity supplies is not sufficient. And obviously insulation, because that's a really important part of making sure that we run efficiently. We did sort of start thinking, should we include low cost in there? But actually we decided from an eco perspective, the focus should be on the insulation side of it, which inevitably would improve the running costs further down the line. But that was the way we would frame our project, that we are looking for a heating, energy and insulation solution for the site. So, some of the things that this will include, some things are very, very clear are going to be in this project. Some you will notice there are question marks by, because the exact detail of it is going to be part of going through the project. So heating in the church is an absolute yes. We absolutely need to get the heating in the church sorted out. Would everybody agree? Yeah, excellent, good. I'm glad you're all on board. Energy to the site, we have to deal with. I mean, this is a problem that we've got to sort out getting energy into the site. One of the ways that might happen, and I've got to put the question mark by this, because this is the sort of thing that will come up as we go through it, working with the technical advisors, etc., is how this will happen. We've obviously done quite a bit of looking at things over time, so a sort of high possibility would be to look at solar panels, and to look at solar panels both on the roof of the church centre, okay, but also on this lower south roof on this side of the church, on the basis of the fact that this is not a very visible roof line on the church on this side. You know, all the rest of it is very visible places, but the lower roof line isn't. So it's an ideal place to consider putting solar panels. And we could then look at, that's an amazing possible way of actually bringing energy onto the site that can then back up the existing supplies that we have. I'm not offering solutions at this stage, I want to be really clear, but these are some of the things that we've thought of. But we are being offered this opportunity to have the technical supporters around us, etc., to be able to work through some of these. As I say, improved heating solution in the hall, I think, is a must. There's no doubt about that. Underfloor heating and insulation in the church is a consideration. One of the reasons that I say that is that the floor is an absolute drain of heat. It's just literally a heat soak. I mean, anytime you get heat into the church, because of the type of floor we have, it just drains it completely. When we had the faculty to remove the pews and put the chairs in, one of the things that was raised, obviously, is the fact that we have got the plinths that they sit on. And we did say that we would be reassessing that when we looked at a heating solution for the church, because there could be a possibility of putting underfloor heating potentially throughout, or even we change the floor area just where the pew plinths are and we have underfloor heating under those areas. There's things to consider, okay? But that is one of the things to consider, is the heating, underfloor heating and or insulation, etc. for the church. That's really important. Underfloor heating insulation in the hall. Again, we've got the hall has got a relatively thin floor. It's a competent floor, it's a fine. You know, there's a bit of damage to it that we could do with. We've been looking at lots of ways of trying to repair that damage. It's surprisingly difficult. But there is a large void underneath that floor. And actually that makes it just a complete, like, again, your heat loss through there is horrendous. This is the sort of time that we can potentially look at that. Do we look at some sort of underfloor heating solution in there? Do we look at some sort of insulation solution in there, etc.? Again, question marks next to that. The other thing is to look at improvement to the entrance doors and some of the windows in the hall. Obviously, the main windows around the main bit of the hall were actually all double glazed with a grant, weren't they, Viola grant a few years ago. But the kitchen, the toilets, the front doors, they are not. So as part of it, to consider looking at the main doors to the hall, etc., and the windows in that end, as to whether or not we can look at that as a way of looking at improved insulation, etc., in that area. Okay, so those are just some of the things. And potentially, is there any way we can look at insulation improvements to church windows? Obviously, completely respecting the beauty of our stained glass, but all of these things have to be considered. Is there repairs that need to happen or whatever that can help with all of that? So these are all the sorts of things that might come into the project. Am I covering everything? I'm looking at all the people on the demonstrator committee. Yeah, lovely. Okay. Okay, so where are we next? Okay, but we need to be very clear about a couple of things. The funding coming through being a demonstrator church, the funding that has been offered from the Central Church of England, can only be used for net zero carbon aspects of the project. Okay, so we need to be very aware of that as we move forward. One of the things that we, definitely want to do is to replace the hall roof. Okay, because it's in a really bad state, it leaks, etc. We've got to replace the hall roof at some point. That will only become part of this project covered by this funding if the heating solution or the eco solution or whatever it is requires that roof to be replaced. If we are talking about putting solar panels on that roof, the current roof wouldn't support them, and therefore that would become part of the eco solution. If the energy that is decided, the route that we bring more energy onto the site is decided to be different, that would not, that does not require a new roof. This funding can then not be used for replacing that roof. That's what I'm sort of trying to say. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we've just got to be very aware of that as we move forward. The funding at stage 2 is not guaranteed. And the Demonstrator grant team are trying to be very clear about that. There is absolute potential, but we have to engage fully at stage 1. So it is both about us completing stage 1 effectively, but also fully engaging in all of our responsibilities as part of that, in terms of working with communication teams, working with other churches, being a good demonstrator church, and actually coming up to the point of having a fully spec'd out job solution that is a good solution, that continues to fit the remit of the demonstrator churches in the net zero carbon programme. Okay, so we need to be very aware of that. Okay, this is a great opportunity. It's a fantastic opportunity, but we must be aware that it is a big commitment. The PCC have obviously discussed this at length, and we are very hopeful that this is a project that the whole church is encouraged to support. I think for all of us, I think we'd say we are very aware that the roof project, when we got down to it to do it, was something that the whole church could unite behind. And it actually brought us together as a church, I think, really beautifully. And we could all see the purpose behind it, and we were all motivated together. We are very hopeful and have been praying that actually this project is something that the whole church would feel that they can get behind as well. We are trying to safeguard and improve this site well into the future, looking at different ways that we can use the site, making changes in this space, and potentially if we are able to look at the floor and actually levelling the floor in some way, this makes this space so much more user-friendly for all sorts of different sort of community activities. There's lots of things that we want to do. It's really about safeguarding the site to go forward. And so the PCC is very hopeful that this is something the whole church will want to get behind. Oh, I've just lost it again. Dominic, are you still there? Is he hiding at the back? We're only on the last 3 slides, Dominic. Can you do the third to last slide? No? Okay. At this stage, we want to hear from you. This is our chance to sort of communicate out to you. We want to hear from you. Next one, Dominic, just go through. Just do them all. What do you think? What questions do you have? This is what we're here for now. And it's not all me. We've got several members of the Demonstrator Grant Committee and the PCC. Go. Thank you. No. Yeah. There's a lot of things to consider. Yeah.
The one big advantage of floor heating is it starts losing its heat after 2 meters from the ground. But we don't care about heat
localized heat where you want it. When I say, sorry, Carl, just to say, it isn't a case of two. Solar panels is about bringing energy to the site that will then power whatever the heating solution is. It could be solar panels powering the underfloor heating. Yeah. No, the panels are just about bringing the energy to the site that you then electrically send to wherever you need it. Is that one. But it's not visible, yeah. So we're talking about potentially the hall roof as well, and actually both those areas do get a huge amount of sun on them. But as I say, the other advantage is it is not detracting from the beauty of the church as people look out to it, because that roof isn't so visible. Yeah, he really, really has. Sorry, Bob. Yes. We're looking at all of those things, which is why I put sort of the question mark next to the solar panels, just because I was trying to give an example, because I wasn't aware of people who really understood what I meant about how do we get energy into the site. And so we've got a meeting, Ben and I have a meeting with our advisor from the demonstration committee from Central Church, and our net zero person from the diocese next week. And that is about, we're going to be looking at getting technical people in to come and assess the site, to consider all the different options of bringing energy in. Exactly, ground source heat pumps, or air source heat pumps, all of these sorts of things, to actually say, right, these are the things that are possible, and we can start assessing from there. Yeah. It is much better for the structure, although that's when costs go up hugely. I mean, we've also been looking at using the sort of radiant type heaters, so like these ones that we have here, but positioned appropriately, probably closer to where the gas heaters were before, which actually then radiates out and actually gives sufficient heating to heat the whole seated area. Those are the other sorts of things that we've looked at over the course of this project so far. So, exactly. And we've got technical experts who are being offered to us as part of this yeah. Margaret. Yeah, so we keep it on a standard level at Swanscombe, the underfloor heating, to protect the fabric of the building. And then it has to, if we want the temperature to go up, that has to be set sort of about 2 hours before to let it warm up. So it's all programmed to come on an hour or two before the service to warm up to get it ready to that level for service time, etc. Because they can be top up. Yeah. support who come and help us. Yeah. But I mean, just to say, as a PCC, we've sort of considered several things over the course of the last 18 months, but this is a wonderful opportunity of actually going, okay, now we can actually get specialists who can come in and advise us, because we've been looking at things and then, oh, hold on, there's a disadvantage of this and that, and we need those specialists. So now, to be at this point that actually we're being offered to be a demonstrator church, and we actually get those specialist advisors who will give us the time. They are not advisors who will be selling their own products. These are independent specialists who will come in and give us that technical advice. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They can be reused as radiators in other places, don't worry. They're probably going to become radiators in the office, aren't they? We've had some interesting discussions about the DAC and PCCs recently. The fact of the matter is that anything that is done in the church, we have to go for faculties for so many things, and the DAC will have their say. There is a huge focus, obviously, on eco-friendly solutions, and if we will, at every stage that we're applying to the DAC, we will really, really push the eco value of what we're doing. And there is such a pressure both on the diocese and Church of England to actually hit their, carbon net zero by 2030. The DAC would have to have very, very, very good reasons. And so often they will come to us as if they got all the, so I'm careful because we're being streamed, but that they have all the technical know-how and therefore they assume that we don't. As part of this project, we are going to have the technical know-how. Okay, so they can't come back and say, well, you haven't thought about this and you don't understand this and that. We are going to have the technical specialists and the advice, so we absolutely do understand it. So that puts us in a good position with them, I think. Yes. Whereas the Church of England, they actually say you should heat the people. So but yeah. So we know it could be a problem, but so it's, yeah. Yeah, we have fun, don't we? We do, we love the DAC. I know. Sorry, Ken, sorry you hadn't it. Yeah, we love them.
For you've paid the great cost, giving up your life to death, even death on a cross. You took all my shame away, there defeated my sin, opened up the gates of hell, and have beckoned me in. Jesus, what can I give? What can I bring? To so faithful a friend, to so loving a king, Savior, what can be said, what can be sung, as a praise.
I mean, obviously, from the PCC point of view, obviously, we absolutely made the decision to take the gas heaters out. They were dangerous. They had to come out. There was no doubt about it. And at that stage, we sort of anticipated that just deciding on some new heaters to put into the church wasn't going to be a massive issue. But actually, you know, the whole thing has grown from there. You know, it's the fact that we then hit this whole issue of actually we don't have the energy supply to do it. We can't make use of the three-phase supply that's going to the hall. To get another three-phase electrical supply is just so expensive. And so the whole thing has sort of grown into that we've got to look at this sort of much bigger thing of heating and energy into the site, which is why it's sort of grown into that. But to now have this opportunity and it's not just the money that helps with the Demonstrator Church, but it's the support and fund that comes with it as well to really help us carry a project through. So it is very exciting, but it is a big commitment because we have to be prepared to do things and go out to other churches and do. Yes, Beth. Well, as part of this project, we actually meet. That's very good. Sorry, just in case I didn't people to hear, Beth was asking how long are we a Demonstrator Church for, and how we get feedback as to whether or not we are doing well enough to be considered for funding in stage 2, etc. This is a very much a working alongside the Demonstrator team at all stages. So Ben and I had a meeting with Abby, who is our coordinator person, in early September, along with representatives from the diocese. Ben has met with her again since. We've got another meeting next week. So we are constantly working and integrated with them. Okay, so they are very much involved in our decision process all the way through. So in that sense, they are steering us to make sure that we make the good decisions to ensure that we are going to be, you know, on the right track to be successful at stage 2. In terms of how long we're a Demonstrator Church for, I think we should think of it in terms of the 2030, because that's the aim of the diocese and of the Church of England of being carbon neutral. And so a lot of churches are, you know, looking at eco-type projects. So if we manage to get this done, we continue to be a Demonstrator Church, sharing our expertise with other churches right the way through to there. The Demonstrator programme is aimed to run right the way through to 2030. Yeah. I know. So, yes, Ken. Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate that, Ken. And you know, I appreciate, especially in the last 18 months, that in terms of sharing what's going on as for how we're going to come up with a solution for heating this church, it's not been happening because it's been so difficult and confused. And every stage of it, we're just like, okay, well, that's not going to work. Okay, we can't have, you know, electrical supply into the church. We have just been in a bit, it's been a little bit of like just running around going, well, what can we present to the church? Because actually we've not got anything even close to a solution or something that we can carry forward. The difference has been in the last few months when Ben put in the application for the Demonstrator grant and we got it, and then suddenly, okay, we've now starting to see a potential route forward. There's still a huge amount up in the air. Decisions have not been made about what our heating solution is going to be or how we're going to do it or whatever, but at least now we can go, okay, we've potentially got a path we can follow, and we want to share it out with people, saying, yeah, we've been running around a little bit madly going, you know, we haven't been forgetting, we've been trying to work on it, but haven't had anything that we can present to go, actually, here's a route, because we haven't had one. Whereas now, potentially, hopefully, we have a route. Yep. Yep. Yeah. It will, absolutely. Yeah. And as I say, we're looking at doing blogs and video diaries and all these sorts of things that people can access, because it's good to do it just for the church family, let alone being a demonstrator church, so we'll be able to offer it to others. So Bart will be our video expert for doing all of that, won't you, Bart? Yes, excellent. Lovely. Yeah. No, we'll just hold on to him. I won't sign him off. Don't worry. I'm not going to sign him off till it's done. Yeah. Sorry, Bob, you wanted to say something. So what initially at this stage, what we're talking about is something called a case for support, which effectively can be exactly that. And so Jude's not here at the moment, but she's been the person on the committee who's been tasked with starting to pull that one together. So a case for support is something that we're trying to do for MCK as well, so Jude's had enough of case support. But it's exactly that sort of thing. You actually need to bring the full detail of everything together, but of the history of the church, this is what we're doing, this is what the project is, etc., that you can actually give out to people, funders, individuals, anyone, that really defines what it is we're doing. So this is one of the jobs. And then further down the road, you update it as to be, this is the finished thing. And you've got something that you can hand out to people going, this is what we did and this is how we went about it. The case for support becomes an ongoing changing document, effectively. But you're absolutely right. By the end, it becomes a finalised brochure that is absolutely.
There's nothing worth more that will ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're our living
No. One, it's a huge cost. I mean, I can understand what you're saying. It's a huge cost, and it then does detract from the beauty of the windows and the light coming through them. Yeah. It could be possible that if we are trying to look at an insulation solution that helps with reducing heat loss of the windows, that actually in itself might be a protection as well. This could be part of the project, because we do have, as we've mentioned already, there's a huge heat loss. So the project is wide open at the moment, but you're absolutely right, that could be considered as part of it. Just to say, we did have our quinquennial inspection recently, and we've just recently got the report back from it. The quinquennial inspection went really, really well. Okay, so this is the second report that we've had in my time here. The first one we had was full of issues of jobs that needed doing and places that need repairing and all sorts of things. There was very, very little in this quinquennial inspection, and so much throughout the inspection. The surveyor was saying this church needs to be congratulated for the efforts that they have gone to. There was so much positivity in that report, and that all comes down to things like the work party, the Saturday work party, the people who turn up here, month after month after month, doing so many different jobs, and it's had a huge impact of just getting through all of those little things. The windows were mentioned in the quinquennial inspection, partially to mention actually how important some of these windows are and how special they are. Generally, in terms of the condition of them, they were considered to be quite good condition, actually. Much, much better than the St. Peter and St. Paul's ones. But we're dealing with that at the moment over there. So, but yeah, the number of jobs, normally at the end of a quinquennial inspection, you've got this massive list of jobs to do. There was just little thing, there was hardly anything in this one, was it? It was incredible, but all the way through it kept saying this church needs to be congratulated for having done that, for having taken this on, for putting this in place, all sorts of things throughout. There's been a lot of work over the last few years in making sure that things are kept to a good standard, and Ben's has been a huge, huge part of that. So anybody who's available on work party days to help, please, if you can, please do come and help, because it makes a massive, massive difference. You know, and it is looking after the fabric of the building, and the whole site, actually. Anything else? Are we, from what you've heard this morning, are you in favour of all of this? That this is a good way to move forward? Yeah. Now we have very specifically made sure that this meeting is streamed. I probably should have used a microphone around to other people, but I wanted to make sure that actually, and then the presentation obviously very much is. So we will share, I mean that's on the YouTube channel for the church, but we'll specifically share the link to it in the WhatsApp group and on the newsletter as well. So people are specifically directed to it so they can come and watch the presentation and know what we're talking about. Okay, so and going forward, you know, we've got to do a lot more to be recording and presenting and all of that, but at least hopefully this gives a good you know, a good overview of what we're looking at here. Is that all right? In which case, Bart, can I invite you to come and pray? Excellent. Let's pray for it.
So let us gather all that's been shared and go into prayer as we go through this. Lord Jesus, we again just thank you for this church. Thank you for its witness here in this place for many, many years. We thank you for all those who faithfully witnessed to you and served you, all the saints who've gone before. And we thank you, Lord, that this church is going to be here for many more years to come. Again, speaking of your goodness and your gospel, your grace and your love. And we just pray as we gather here now, Lord, that you would just bless this process, that it would be efficient, decisions would be made quickly, that things would be put in place. We pray that you would encourage and strengthen all those who will be involved in the hard work of making this happen. But Lord, mostly we just ask that you would guide us by your Holy Spirit to be the church that you have called us to be. Lord, bless us, we pray. Bless all the work that we're engaged in. Bless us now as we leave this place to honour and to serve you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And if you ongoing have questions, then please do come and ask us, but we will be doing all we can to keep you up to date as things move forward. Wonderful. May see many of you at the memorial service a little later at 4 o'clock. But otherwise, yes, we shall see you soon. God bless you all.
Come, just as you are to worship. Come, just as you are.